The old leg. Christoph shrugged. Muster coming to town here. A whole new round of boys and old men for little Mac to lead to the slaughter. He lost over 12,000 at Antietam. The bartender tossed down a newspaper. Another young man stepped to the bar. He had curly blonde hair and was over average height. His cheeks were soft, and he wore a tailored brown coat and a fresh, cheery, energetic look to him, a disposition that irritated Wolf to no end in his current hazy state. Could I see that, Christoph? Christoph nodded and smiled at the young man. Sure thing, Franz. Nice to see you, lad. He went to snatch the paper, but Wolf pounced on it first. Johannes! Let him see the paper. Not like you can read anyway. I can read. He could read, but in his drunkenness the tiny words were blurred together. Hovering the yellowing Grand Rapids Daily Eagle close to his face, he was able to focus just enough to make out some of the words. Michigan was on the list of required states to provide troops for the ongoing Civil War, a war that was supposed to have ended over a year ago, yet Union and Confederate armies still mangled each other day in and day out. He flipped to the back page. The news was still writing about a battle from the month before. Union General George B. McClellan had been too cautious, allowing the fickle General Robert E. Lee to escape the inconclusive battle at Antietam. Despite superior numeric advantages by McClellan, he had failed to end the war. Lee's escape stretched the uncivil conflict even further. Wolf forced a high-pitched whistle through his lips. He lost 12,000 in a single day, and they call it a strategic victory. Christoph shook his head in woeful disappointment. We came here trying to forget that. We came here for a fresh start. It's like we brought the madness with us. The older man prattled on like his father telling tales about the old country. They're assembling a whole regiment? Aye, over 1,000 men. He grabbed the paper from Wolf and handed it to Franz. Franz smiled and tipped the paper at Wolf in appreciation. Thanks, Christoph. Wow, another muster, Franz said with a grin. I'm old enough now, too. Christoph shook his head as he scooped up another mug. They just mustered the 7th Michigan out. He scratched his goatee. Couldn't have been more than a couple of weeks ago. Won't be any man left between the ages of 18 and 60 before this war is over. I might have to give it a try. Franz snapped the paper with authority. Soldiering has always been in our blood. Wolf snorted. Soldiering was the last thing Franz needed to be doing. The man's affirmative words made Wolf want to strangle him. He'd known quite a few men his age who had gone off to serve, and he'd been left behind with a bum leg, unfit for duty, jobless, and bitter. No glory, no honor, nothing. Wolf turned to brawling to pass the time. One had to when they were a foreign cripple in a new land, despite the fact he'd lived there for years, always ready to prove himself, quick to take on a dare. There was no other way. Otherwise, he'd be another homeless invalid on the street with nothing to his name, not even a shred of respect. Franz, you couldn't fight a fly buzzing by your ear. The young man narrowed his eyes and smirked. I can fight fine. He nodded, his head in affirmation. I reckon I'd make a good soldier, just like father. Really? Wolf's eyes slitted in Franz's direction. He couldn't ever remember scrapping with young Franz, not that it mattered. He'd fought bigger, faster, stronger men. Stand up. Let's see what you got. He started to roll a sleeve. I'm not fighting you, Mr. Wolf. I came here for a stein, not a fight. Wolf grunted disbelief deep in his throat. You softy. Boisterous laughter caught his ear. Glancing over his shoulder in a stupor, a group of 3 men stood around a bar table across the room. They were all roughly the same height, well over 6 feet tall, with thick builds of men who worked hard for a living. Men that if you didn't have a horse, you could easily hook them to a plow as a replacement. Light brown beards encircled round faces. Happy lot, aren't they? Wolf said over his shoulder. Can't understand a word they say, but can't complain too much because they actually pay. Wolf turned.